In the summer of 1944, as the dust of Normandy settled over shattered villages and fields burned black, one name began to ripple through the ranks of the U.S. Army: Lafayette G. Poole. He was known by many nicknames: War Daddy, the American Panzer, the one-man armored division. To the men who served beside him, he was something even simpler: the man who somehow always brought them home. Poole's journey began far from the chaos of Europe, in the quiet fields of Odem, Texas. Born on July 23, 1919, he was a tall, broad-shouldered young man who seemed built for hard work. He loved machines, speed, and competition. He wasn't a brawler by nature, but when tested, he didn't back down. That quiet confidence would define him later in ways no one could have imagined. In 1941, like many young Americans, Poole found himself drawn to the call of service. The U.S. Army offered him a path out of Texas and a chance to test himself in a world descending into war. He enlisted in the 3rd Armored Division, Spearhead, an armored force that would later carve its name into European history. At Fort Polk, Louisiana, Poole trained with his new brothers in arms. There, amid mud and heat, he learned the rhythm of tank warfare, how to move, shoot, and survive as a single unit of steel and men. From the start, Poole showed an almost instinctive grasp of armored tactics. He studied every movement, every shot, and every mistake. His instructors noticed. This wasn't a man content to just follow orders. He was someone destined to command. By the time he shipped out for England in late 1943, Poole had already formed the nucleus of a tank crew that would become legendary. Bow gunner Wilbert Jr. Richards, driver Willis Oler, assistant driver Delbert Boggs, and gunner Wesley "Baby" Harris. Together, they became an unshakable team. Poole didn't just lead them, he protected them, challenged them, and earned their absolute trust. In the summer of 1944, following D-Day, Poole and his men landed in Normandy. Their first tank, a Sherman named In the Mood, would become as famous as its commander. The terrain was close and murderous. Hedgerows, ambushes, and villages turned to fortresses. Yet Poole's confidence seemed unshakable. He developed a reputation for striking fast and hard, often leading his platoon into the thickest fighting. His coordination with his crew was near perfect. He could spot a threat, issue an order, and see it carried out within seconds. The crew responded to his voice the way a muscle responds to nerve, instantly and precisely. In their first major engagement near the French town of Colombières, Poole's tank led a charge that shattered a German defensive line. In less than 15 minutes, they destroyed multiple enemy positions and armored vehicles. It was the beginning of a streak that would soon make Poole one of the most effective tank commanders of the war. Over the next 83 days, from Normandy through Belgium, Lafayette Poole's tank crews destroyed or captured an astonishing total: over 250 armored vehicles and self-propelled guns, 12 tanks, and nearly 1,000 enemy soldiers taken prisoner. No other Allied tank commander achieved numbers quite like his, but to Poole, those numbers meant little. What mattered most was the survival of his crew. Time after time, when others were caught in burning tanks, Poole's men made it out. Not once in all their battles did he lose a single crew member to enemy fire. His style of command was fearless, yet calculated. He believed in aggression, never giving the enemy time to regroup. When the Germans would dig in, Poole would flank, distract, and drive straight through. When the enemy set traps, he would bait them into firing first, then strike with deadly precision. He had an almost preternatural sense of timing. His gunner, Wesley Harris, recalled later that Poole would call out targets before anyone else even spotted them. He just knew, Harris said. He could feel where they were. Through July and August 1944, In the Mood became a familiar sight on the front lines. It wasn't long before Poole's fame began to spread, first through the 3rd Armored Division, then throughout the U.S. Army in Europe. He was known as the Tank Ace of the Western Front, a title he never asked for but couldn't escape. But the pace of war spares no one for long. In August, Poole's first Sherman was knocked out by an 88mm gun near Saint-Denis-sur-Sarthe. The crew escaped unharmed, and within days they were assigned a replacement. In the Mood 2. When that tank, too, was lost, the men simply started again, climbing into In the Mood 3. Each time, the ritual was the same: paint the name, check the guns, and move forward. They didn't dwell on luck, fate, or fear, only the mission. By early September 1944, Poole had fought nearly continuously since Normandy. The 3rd Armored Division was pushing into Belgium, chasing the retreating Wehrmacht toward the German border. The Allies believed the enemy was breaking, but the Germans were regrouping, waiting for their chance to strike back. On September 19th, near the Belgian village of Münsterbusch, Poole led his column down a narrow road. It was supposed to be a routine pursuit. The air was thick with dust and smoke. Civilians waved from windows as the Shermans rolled past. Then, without warning, a German Panzer opened fire from concealment. The first shell struck the lead tank in the column. The second tore into Poole's Sherman, detonating the ammunition rack. The blast hurled him from the turret. His right leg was shattered. His crew survived, but their commander lay bleeding in the road. It was the end of Poole's war. He was evacuated to England, then to the United States, where surgeons amputated his leg below the knee. For a man who had lived by motion, speed, and power, the loss could have broken him. But Lafayette Poole refused to let it. During his long recovery, he was haunted by dreams of the battlefield. He missed the roar of the engines, the smell of diesel and cordite, the shouts of his men. Yet he understood something that many veterans struggled to accept. His fight was over. His mission now was different. After the war, Poole tried to return to civilian life. He ran a gas station for a time, but his passion for the military never faded. He re-enlisted in the Army, this time as a rehabilitation and training instructor. Using an artificial limb, he demonstrated tank maneuvers and taught younger soldiers the principles of armored warfare that had kept him and his crew alive. He never sought glory, and he spoke little about his wartime achievements. When asked, he would credit his men, his luck, and his faith. To him, war was not about heroism. It was about doing a job and bringing as many men home as possible. Over time, the legend of War Daddy Poole grew into something larger than the man himself. His tactics and combat record became case studies in armored warfare training programs. His story inspired books, documentaries, and even elements of Hollywood films about tank commanders. Those who met him later in life described him as humble, thoughtful, and deeply patriotic. He never complained about what he had lost, only spoke proudly of what he and his crew had accomplished together. Lafayette G. Poole passed away on May 30, 1991. At the age of 71, he was buried in his home state of Texas, surrounded by family, friends, and veterans who remembered him not as a legend, but as a man who led with courage and heart. Today, his name endures as one of the greatest American tank commanders of World War II. In just 83 days of combat, he achieved what few ever could, and did so without losing a single crew member. His legacy is not only one of victory, but of loyalty, leadership, and an unbreakable bond among brothers in war. As historians still note, Poole's story is more than a tale of destruction and numbers. It's a testament to the human spirit inside the machine, to a man who mastered the art of war not for glory, but for the men beside him. Through courage, instinct, and compassion, Lafayette War Daddy Poole became a symbol of the American fighting spirit, unyielding, determined, and forever remembered.